What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? I hope y'all are doing well. I hope all is well. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I only have about 20 to 25 minutes because we have more good things happening tonight. But we're going to be talking about communication mistakes just for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes. Um, Good to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a while since I have been live. But I hope you all are doing well. I'm gonna wait about another minute. My name is Artis Anderson. I own a company called Forever Love, and I am a relationship consultant. Okay, I'm married to the beautiful Zadoria Anderson, my wife. We also have a Forever Love hotline that you can call anonymously to get any type of advice you need, to get any type of information you need answered for your marriage or relationship, etc. The number is 1-888-420-0471. You can call it or text us at any time, or visit us at www.try, the number 4, everlove.com. Try, the number 4, everlove.com. So listen, we're going to be getting into this conversation about communication mistakes. I know it's been a while since I've been live, but I am dedicated this year to make sure I bring these great talks to you all, this information to you all. And my goal is to really help people's marriage improve, to help people get to the goal of marriage, those that aspire to be married. My goal is to help people become better personally so that when they do enter into relationships, that they will become much improved individuals as well. And so healthy relationships is my priority. Healthy marriages is my priority in everything that I do with the company Forever Love. And so, with these conversations, I just want you to have an open mind, okay? Don't be so quick to disagree. Just keep an open mind as we have these conversations, and feel free to ask questions at any time, okay? Um, when you hear certain things that you might like or agree with, just type it in the chat. Just let me know what you're thinking. But also, if it's something you disagree with, type it in the chat, let me know. But again, don't be so quick to disagree. Just have an open mind with some of these things that I might share today or in the future when it comes to these live conversations that I'm going to be doing going forward. This is the first one of 2023. And so let's dive right into this, okay? Let's dive right into this. The thing is that relationships are a gift, and relationships are something that are designed to help us, to improve us, to sharpen us, to equip us, to correct us, to challenge us, to support us. But oftentimes there's many dynamics and many dimensions of issues that lead to relationships going left, relationships going sour, or problematic issues that arise in relationships, right? Especially in marriage. And oftentimes what I see is people enter into marriage prematurely. And what I mean by that is they enter into marriage before they're ready, mentally, emotionally, financially, and sometimes even physically, where people are just not ready to physically give their bodies to marriage. They're not ready to give their all in marriage. They're not ready to sacrifice in marriage. They're not ready to give when you don't feel like it. They're not ready to do things that they don't want to do. They're not ready. They're not ready to do things they need to do when they don't feel like doing it. So these things become problematic, and they create a culture and a community of dysfunction within our world. And so part of my responsibility as God has gifted me in this area of relationship is to really help people kind of untangle these webs, right? So the thing is that with relationships, right? With relationships, um, here's where I want to start. Communication mistakes happen often. They happen very often, okay? Communication mistakes happen very often. No, unfortunately, I'm not live on Instagram right now. But I'll be posting clips on Instagram throughout the time that I do these lives. But communication mistakes happen oftentimes because people don't know how to communicate. And I've always told people this, the origin of my company starts at the fact that I realized in our community that we've been taught how to do everything in life, just about, right? Whether it's go to school, whether it's cook, clean, change the oil, tie your shoe, get dressed, brush your teeth. I mean, literally almost everything. There's something out there where we are taught to do it, except for the area of relationships, which is the most important function in our life from the time we come out of our mother's womb. And so you have people that can start Fortune 500 companies, but can't sustain their marriage. You have people that can cook like the best of them, but they can't communicate. You have people that know how to count money, handle finances. You have people that know how to do taxes, people that know how to build cars. But so many people don't know how to sustain healthy relationships. And they lead to traumatic events and traumatic issues that are carried out in our childhood, carried out through our adulthood, and in our relationships. And so the divorce rates become higher, all types of problematic issues go on in these relationships, abuse and all types of stuff, right? But communication is such an important topic, and I wanted to start off the year with talking about this subject, communication mistakes. Now, first of all, what is the definition of communication? Number one, communication is the process of giving and receiving information. Now, oftentimes when people communicate, they love to give information, but they're not willing to be quiet and receive information. Which is going to bring me into my mistake number one when people communicate. But before I get to that, people forget that there's a two-way street with communication. There's a giving and there's a receiving. So when you're communicating, the reality is you need to learn how to give and receive, period. You must learn how to give and receive. You must learn how to give and receive when it comes to communication. And so now when it comes to communication, when we understand the definition and when we understand the process, what we begin to realize is this, okay, that the transfer of information, the exchange of ideas, thoughts, feelings, expectations, all of that is a byproduct of communication. So when you're communicating, you're not just talking, you're not just giving a message, you're literally transferring your ideas, your information, your thoughts, your feelings, your expectations. And so the reason why communication tends to go left a lot of times is because we don't realize how much we're transferring in our communication. If I want to give you an idea or a thought, for example, hey, I want you to spend more time with me, for example. My body language, my demeanor, my attitude, my tone, all of that gets transferred. So if I'm not careful, you'll end up getting more of my attitude, more of my tone than you are the message. And that's why communication becomes problematic. So I have to be very careful that I do not let other dynamics override the actual message when I communicate. So here's the thing though, right? Here's the thing. When it comes to communication, Communication can be verbal, it can be body language. You can communicate through means of a cell phone or social media. You can communicate through silence, through attitudes, all sorts of things, right? But let's get right into this mistake number one. Mistake number one when people communicate. You cut people off while they're talking. Mistake number one. You cut people off while they're talking. Now, if I were to interview 10 people out of 10, I can guarantee you all 10 people would hate being cut off while they're talking. But then the question would be, how many people actually exercise the very thing that they want the other person to do, which is let them finish? That number will probably drop from 10 to 2. One of the biggest mistakes in communication is you cut people off while they're talking. And honestly, I understand sometimes people are taking a long time to share their thoughts. Sometimes people are taking a long time to share their ideas or get it out. I get it, but you have to understand they still need to finish their thought so that you can get the full exchange and the full transfer. When you cut people off while they're talking, it's a real big sign of disrespect. And I can almost guarantee you that every person that cuts someone off while they're talking don't like to be disrespected. So the question becomes, why disrespect someone else while they're talking if you wouldn't want it to happen to you? See, these are basic fundamentals of just maturity, which is why most people, or a lot of people, I should say, get in relationships prematurely, because these fundamental foundations are important to understand. Can I give what I expect to receive? Even when I'm upset, even when I'm impatient, even when I'm sad, even when I'm frustrated, can I still give the level of respect that I want in return? When you cut people off while they're talking, it's also a sign that you don't know how to listen. Because cutting someone off while they're talking is actually you interrupting the full idea from actually being given to you. And oftentimes what I've seen with a lot of my clients, as I'm working with them, they cut their spouse off or they cut their significant other off. And then later in the session, we come to realize that if they were able to have finished their thought, then they would have understood what they were saying or what they were getting at. But when you cut somebody off, you actually slow down the process of which you can actually come to a healthy conclusion. Is this making sense to everybody? If you're watching, just type yes. This makes a lot of sense. Type that for me. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you cut people off, right? When you cut people off, you don't actually realize the damage you're creating. You're creating more problems on top of the actual thing you're communicating about. Because the moment you cut somebody off, guess what you're gonna do? Y'all gonna actually go into that conversation about, man, stop cutting me off. Well, you taking too long. Well, you always cut me off. And now you're not even talking about the actual issue anymore. And by the time you do that 2 or 3 times, you are like 3 subjects, 4 subjects, 5 subjects away from the original topic of conversation, which is problematic. And so here's the reality. When you learn to stop cutting people off while they're talking, you actually improve the communication between the two, because now you give the other person the time to finish their thoughts, their ideas. Now they're more willing to listen and hear you out. So mistake number one, you cut people off while they're talking. I want everybody watching this to make a conscious effort to understand that you need to stop doing that if you do it. Okay? Mistake number two. You have bad timing, or your timing is off. Mistake number two, you have bad timing, or your timing is off. Now, with a lot of my clients, here's what usually happens. As they're explaining to me the situation and what's going on so we can help navigate different dynamics of things, I often realize that their issue is not actually what they think it is. They're trying to communicate, but the person not listening, or the person is frustrated, or whatever the case may be. And here's a simple thing that I always walk them through. And I tell them, your issue isn't what you think it is. Your issue is you had the conversation at the wrong time. Your spouse just walked in the house from work. That's not the right time to have that conversation. That's not the right time to bring up your problems. Your spouse is in the middle of handling the kids who's having a temper tantrum. That's not the time to bring up your issue. See, the thing is, when you want to talk at the wrong times, it gives and shows a level of immaturity that you possess. Kids are impatient by nature because they haven't learned to develop patience. That's something they're developing as they grow up. But as an adult, the level of patience, even though it's not always there, it should be, because the process of time should have taught you that at times you're going to have to be patient and wait. Do things at a better time or at the right time. And so, but relationally, or especially in marriage, oftentimes people just want to talk when they want to talk. But that's not actually a healthy idea. You should talk when the both of you are clear-minded, are ready to talk, and able to talk. The level of selfishness that is shown when you try to talk when you want to talk and the other person isn't available or ready. For example, a lot of my clients would say, my spouse is trying to call me and talk to me about their issue or their problem, what they mad at me about, and I'm at work. And so I would say, why did you think that was an appropriate time to talk to them about being at work while they were at work? And the spouse would say, or the significant other would say, well, it's because they never talk when we get home, or we don't never have a chance when we get home because of the kids. And I say, listen, I understand, but here is the reality. The job is still a bad time to talk. I understand your frustration with all the other dynamics, but it doesn't change the truth of the fact that while they're at work, it's not a good time to talk. So what we have to be able to do is be able to work through the dynamics of, okay, how can we, when you get home, regardless of what's going on, create space and time? That's what we need to talk about. But trying to force your way to have a conversation because you don't want to wait, or because you're impatient, or because you mad, or because you frustrated, that's just not right. And so as we improve ourselves so that we can have better relationships and better marriages, what we want to be able to do is understand when to talk. So your timing has to be good. It has to be on point, and it has to be a time where both of you are able to talk. Is this making sense to you all? You know, people want to be in relationships oftentimes more than they actually want to make the relationship work. And what I mean by that is, in my experience, I've been doing this for about almost 10 years now in terms of just helping couples, helping marriages, etc. A lot of times people want to be with someone more than they actually want to make it work, which is actually dysfunctional, because they would rather just be with someone and not have the tools to make it work, rather than be by themselves, work on how to be in a relationship individually, so that when you get in a relationship, you know how to work it. Right? So they would rather be in a relationship and be dysfunctional because they don't want to be by themselves. rather than be by yourself. And then when you learn these things and mature and grow and you're ready for a relationship, then you get in a relationship. Our culture has conditioned us to see things and view things in a very problematic way. And oftentimes we think we're ready for something. And I can't tell y'all how many times I tried to tell somebody, you're not ready. Now I know they're going to do it anyway, so I don't make no fuss about it. But I tell them the truth, and then they realize I wasn't ready. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's part of the problem. Why you don't even listen to wisdom. And so the reality is we have to learn to, let me say it a better way. We have to learn to appreciate the gift of relationships by making sure we don't prematurely jump in them. Because by the time we jump in 4 or 5 different relationships and damage 4 or 5 different people, now we've actually contributed to the dysfunction of our community. Because now we have more people that are hurt, damaged, upset, frustrated, unforgiving, unloving, untrust. They're not able to trust and all types of stuff. Mistake number 3, you don't know how to manage your tone or your temperament. Mistake number 3 in communication. You don't know how to manage your tone or your temperament. What this shows is you have a lack of self-awareness. This also shows that you have a lack of emotional stability. You know, we live in a culture where we're trying to make everything a man versus a woman thing, but the reality is, while there's dynamics of man stuff and woman stuff, and women might do this a little bit more than men, or men might, characteristically do this more than women, but the reality is men and women do some of the same things. And let's just be honest about this. Men like to talk a lot about how women can't handle their emotions, where a lot of men can't either. Women like to talk about how men is immature and, they need to grow up. Well, a lot of women do too. It's not a man versus a woman thing. And our culture has taken the wrong direction and the wrong turn when it comes to these conversations. We have to deal with things from a personal, individual standpoint. Are you mature? Are you ready? Are you honest? It's not a man or woman thing. Are you what you need to be? Are you the best version of yourself? Is this making sense to y'all? Is this making sense? You don't need to talk to anybody, mess with anybody, be in a relationship with anybody, marry anybody, if you don't even know how to communicate in the proper tone with the right temperament, because your whole relationship is predicated on communication. So you have to be stable enough to have conversations, especially the hard ones. I want your marriages to work. I want your relationships to be healthy and successful. And the way you do that is by making sure that these foundational principles and foundational things are at your heart, and they're a part of who you are at the core. If you don't have emotional stability, when conversations get tough or rough or difficult, it's going to show, and it's going to create more problems than anything. I've seen more relationships and marriages worsen because they didn't know how to have simple conversations. Somebody gets offended, somebody gets defensive, and now everything starts to go left and go haywire. That's my time. But here's what I want you to do. Here's the bottom line. Here's the conclusion. Communication is a skill. It's an actual skill that you have to learn. You have to learn how to communicate. If you need help with that, call us at 1-888-420-0471 or text us at that number, 1-888-420-0471, and we can help you with your communication. All right. Visit tryforeverlove.com, the number 4, everlove.com, TRY, the number 4, everlove.com. Book a consultation if you want. But all in all, walk away from this conversation understanding this one very thing. Don't make these communication mistakes. All right. I love y'all. Please share this live, like this live, send it to somebody that you know can use it, or if it's beneficial to them or you believe it's beneficial to them. Like us on everywhere. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and we love y'all. We are out.